Engines roaring, tires screeching, and a little girl standing frozen behind her lemonade stand. Everyone thought disaster was about to strike when a gang of bikers pulled up, their tattoos, leather jackets, and loud motorcycles sending chills through the neighborhood. But what happened next shocked everyone watching because, instead of destroying her dream, these bikers did something so unbelievable, it left an entire community speechless. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this story. That's exactly what little Amara saw and heard as she stood behind her lemonade stand on the corner of Maple Street. She was just 10 years old, but she carried herself with the determination of someone far older. Her stand was simple, just a foldable wooden table, a bright yellow banner that she had decorated with markers, and a picture of her homemade lemonade. It wasn't much, but to Amara, it was everything. Each cup she poured was part of a bigger dream. She wasn't just selling lemonade. She was saving. Every coin, every crumpled bill that dropped into her glass jar was carefully guarded. She was saving up for something special, a brand new pair of shoes for school. Shoes that wouldn't pinch her feet or carry the scuffs of being hand-me-downs. Shoes she could walk into class with proudly. For days, she had stood in the hot summer sun, smiling at every customer, waving at neighbors, and working hard to earn every dollar. The jar was slowly filling, and her excitement grew with each passing afternoon. But this day was different. The ground beneath her seemed to vibrate as a sudden roar echoed down the street. One by one, a group of motorcycles turned the corner, their chrome shining in the sunlight. There were nearly a dozen of them, riding together in a tight line, engines growling like thunder. Amara's smile faded. Her tiny hands gripped the edge of the table so tightly that her knuckles turned white. She had heard the stories, whispers about bikers being loud, rude, and dangerous. They didn't follow rules, people said. They caused trouble wherever they went. And now, they were headed straight toward her stand. Neighbors noticed, too. Curtains twitched. Windows cracked open just enough for worried eyes to peek out. Across the street, Mrs. Thompson gasped, pulling her grandchildren closer to her porch. Someone muttered, "Trouble's coming." The motorcycles slowed to a stop, forming a circle around Amara's little lemonade stand. The sudden silence was almost louder than the engines. The leader stepped forward, a tall man with a gray beard, broad shoulders, and dark sunglasses that hid his eyes. He removed his helmet slowly, his boots crunching against the gravel as he approached her table. Amara's heart raced. Would they laugh at her? Steal her money? Kick over her stand? Everyone on the block held their breath, waiting for the unthinkable to happen. The leader bent down slightly, his heavy boots planting firmly on the sidewalk. He studied the handwritten sign on the table, the one that read, "Fresh lemonade, $1." For a moment, he said nothing. The street was so quiet you could hear the ice clinking in Amara's pitcher. Then, with a deep voice that rumbled like his motorcycle, he finally asked, "Little lady, how much for a cup?" Amara's throat felt dry. Her fingers trembled as she whispered, "Oh, $1." The man reached into his worn leather wallet. But instead of pulling out a single dollar, he carefully slid a crisp $50 bill into her jar. "Keep the change," he said, flashing the smallest but warmest of smiles. Amara's eyes widened. She had never even held a bill that big before. Her heart pounded in her chest. Before she could find words, the other bikers stepped forward. One by one, they lined up like loyal customers, each ordering lemonade. Some asked for 2 cups, some for 3, but not a single one of them paid with just $1, a $10 bill, a 20, 100. Over and over, the bills piled up. None of them wanted change. They were giving, not taking. Within minutes, Amara's little glass jar, once filled with coins and wrinkled bills, was stuffed with more money than she had ever imagined. It nearly overflowed. She blinked hard, wondering if she was dreaming. Neighbors who had been hiding behind their curtains slowly crept outside, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Their mouths hung open. The so-called gang of bikers wasn't here to cause chaos or frighten anyone. They were here to help a little girl chase her dream. After finishing their lemonade, the leader leaned down again. "So what are you saving up for?" he asked gently. Amara looked at the ground, shyly replying, "Shoes, new shoes for school." The bikers looked at each other and broke into laughter, not mocking, but joyful. "Shoes?" the leader said. "You deserve more than that. He turned to one of his men. "Go get them." Minutes later, a biker roared back with a big box. Inside were not one but 3 pairs of brand new shoes. Amara's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or hug them all. Then came the final surprise. The bikers huddled together, nodding, before the leader announced loudly, "From today, this lemonade stand is under our protection. Nobody, and I mean nobody, messes with Amara's business." The crowd erupted into cheers. Neighbors clapped. Cars honked, and Maple Street transformed into a celebration of kindness that no one would ever forget. That summer, Amara's lemonade stand became the heartbeat of Maple Street. People didn't just come for a cold drink on a hot day, they came for the story, the feeling, and the message behind it. The bikers kept their word. Every weekend, the rumble of engines returned, not to strike fear but to bring joy. They parked their motorcycles in neat rows and lined up like loyal customers. Some came alone, others brought their wives, children, and friends. And with each visit, they bought lemonade, not because they were thirsty, but because they wanted to show that they believed in Amara. Over time, they did more than just drink lemonade. They pitched in to make her stand better. One brought a large umbrella to shield her from the blazing sun. Another donated foldable chairs so her customers could sit and relax. The leader himself built a sturdier wooden table, carving Amara's name into the side so no one would ever forget who it belonged to. Soon, word began to spread beyond Maple Street. A local reporter showed up, curious about the unlikely friendship between a little girl and a biker crew. Within days, Amara's picture appeared in the town's newspaper. A bright-eyed girl standing proudly in front of her lemonade stand, surrounded by her biker family. The internet took notice, too. Photos of smiling bikers holding cups of lemonade went viral. People shared the story across social media, calling it proof that kindness could come from the most unexpected places. Neighbors who had once peeked nervously through their curtains now crossed the street just to shake the bikers' hands. One older man admitted, "I used to avoid them. I thought they were troublemakers. But now I see them for what they really are, protectors, with hearts bigger than their engines." Amara herself had changed too. What began as a small effort to save for a pair of shoes had turned into something life-changing. She not only earned enough money for school supplies and clothes, but she also learned a lesson she would carry forever. You can't judge people by their appearance. What matters is the kindness they choose to show. By the end of summer, Amara wasn't just the girl with the lemonade stand. She was a symbol of hope, community, and the power of compassion. And those bikers? They weren't seen as a gang anymore. They were her guardians, her cheerleaders, and most importantly, her friends. Sometimes the unthinkable isn't tragedy at all. Sometimes it's a miracle in disguise. And that's how a group of bikers turned one little lemonade stand into a symbol of kindness and community. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and hit that subscribe button for more inspiring stories. Until next time, stay kind, because you never know whose life you might change